Ohana i ngā reo Rangatira mā tēnā rā koutou katoa. Nau mai haere mai ki tēnei hōtaka e kia nei he puke he rangatira. Nei te rā nei ko tae mai te tahi aku nei manuhiri koia hoki te tahi aku whanaunga me ki ko koia te tahi o ngā kaihaka o mua mō ngā rōpū maha puta no kaua ko te taitoke rau anake, engari ko te motu whānui me ki. Ano hoki koia tētahi o ngā tangata e hāpai nei, e tautoko ana i wētahi o ngā hunga rangatahi i ngā tauki muri, mohe ana hau ki tēnā, me te maha atu o ngā mahi. Nā reira, kōwai atu, ko Harry Clarke, e mara, e mihi ana kia koe e taku whanaunga, tēnā koe.
Kia ora, tēnā koe taku whanaunga i puta.
Kia ora.
Tēnā maharahara taku ngākau.
Ai, tika. Tika, e hoa. Nā, hei tīmata ke i tā tāua kōrero, tēnā kōrero mai, ko wai koe nōhea.
Kia ora. Te tūtahi tōke nākara, te taitara ki mutu kōkako, whakatahi ora, te tiki o tū, te mahurangi, he manu kaua e ngā ki roto o pau e rua, ngā koho e tatau i rungo rākau, manga kei tāhuna tapu te rie, whai mai rā kia. Tēnā rā pēr koe pātia putunga te kōrero e whāre nāna kia hauhea te rongo, e kore mai te rongo. Ka whakarau i ka ngā puhi ka tūtai haruru te moana i hoi ai a Ngāti wai ki raro ki tūtāwiri. Ma tīreira ko te wehenga, ori reira tau o kumeroa, ngā tai e tōna i rungo mōrunga, i waho mōrunga, e au here toroa, whai mai rā ki au. Turu au toi, turu au ta whano hara mai te toki a haumi e hui e tai ki. Oia no rā, ko te tangi a tūkai ai ko Ngāti wai kei te moana. Oia no rā, tēnei ko te hari Tūwhakaia Clarke au, ko Harry Tūwhakaia Clarke au e mihi ake nei kia koutou. Oia no rā, te taha o toku pāpā no tainui Ngāti koro ki kaukura. Oia no rā, ana whakapapa hohonu rā, ki a tainui, tarere tēnei te mihi aroha kia mātou nei whānau taku pāpā.
Kia ora.
E takoto mai nā kei raro i ngā rekereke o maunga tautari. Oia no rā, takoto mai rā koe e. Takoto mai e pā.
Kia ora.
Oia no rā, kei raro ngā rekereke o Ngāti Koroki. Ko te hū Māori e ana rātou. Oia no rā, pai Māori re kei rungi a tātou katoa. Te taho o taku māma. Oia no rā, tupu ana au i raro e ngā maunga whakahi o Ngāti wai, manaia. Oia no rā, ki huruiki, whangaruru hoki, Ngāti wai, Ngāti, ngā uri o hiki au. Oia no rā, tēnei te mihi aroha ki aku nei whānau, ki uta. Oia no rā, tātou nei whānau hoki ki tai. Nā reira, tēnei koropiko nei taku tuara ki a koutou ra e te whānau. Nā reira tino wiri taku ngākau i te wānei ki te kōrua ki a koutou. No hea koe, hea hau. Koe anō rā, nei rā ko te taniwha e tuake nei ki a koutou ko Harry Boy. Harry Boy Clarke. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe. Nā e tika ana ka tuku mihi atu ki a koe taku whanaunga i te ngarohanga o tō pāpa, no tatāke nei no reira e tautoko ana o mihi ki tō pāpa. Nā i just kia whakapono mai a hau kazia, i tērā wā, ka tai atu au ki te tangihanga o tō pāpa, ko tērā te wā tuatahi i mōhio a hau no roto mai a tainui ia.
Ai.
I te ohorere a hau ki te rongo i tēnā, nā te nui o aku whakaro no konei ia.
No, that's right. Well, he came back pretty much exactly 51 years ago. I only just turned 50 this year. And so my parents came back from down in New Plymouth. Of course, they travelled around a little bit, coming from Cambridge. That's where my dad came from. Being steeped in the teachings of the the tikanga. His oldest brother, Te Kāpō Clarke, was the tariao for the Paimārire and was going around and speaking on behalf of Te Atairangi Kāhu at that time.
Sura.
And pledged a allegiance to the Kōwhanganui or the supporting power that is needed to support the tikanga and everything around the arakitanga. So he was a tariao and went around and did many karakia all around the country and all around the world.
Aira, he paku whakatā i tēnei wā e mara. Ka hoki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whanganui a māua ko taku manuhiri ko Harry Boy Clarke. E kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga me ngā mahi ko oti iaia. Aotira, hei whakangāhau ia tātou, hei tāpiri ati ki wēnei kōrero anei tāna rōpu kapahaka o te tīmatanga, mai ngā whakataetai a motu i te tau 2005 i tū ki te papa i oia, no reira e mara, a ta whakarongo mai. huki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whangarei a Māro ko taku manuhiri ko te rangatira mo te rānei. Ara ko Harry Boy Clarke e kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga. Nā reira, e mara mau tonu mai.
Te kapo, my dad being his youngest brother, and then he was the youngest of 14, I think, really, and that was the Clarke family, very well known. They were very quiet, humble people, actually, friendly. If you knew my dad, he was very friendly and kind, and that's what his whole whānau were like, and they had these big hands. Actually, I've got those hands too, really. We all do. And they all played music a lot. So Dad was the lead guitarist, just like myself, actually, in a band with all his brothers. And it was, they called it the Rubber Band down in Cambridge, really. And they were a big band, and so they had a whole three-piece saxophone with a piano and a drummer, and my dad playing the guitar and the bass player. And they were running around, also sometimes playing for the Ngāti Wahia brass band as well, which is quite famous down there. Yeah, and so anyway, my dad, being a young guitarist and on the stage, ended up seeing this beautiful young Ngāpuhi girl at a dance. And she was only about the age of 15, I think, and they ended up getting together somewhere in the wee-wees and the wah-wahs afterwards, of course, and, probably ended up having my oldest brother, Aaron, which was only about in 1960, maybe around 1950, really. And so they got married at a young age, between 15 and 18, and had Aaron, Joanne, and Hohepa all down the line. Of course, when they decided to come back, they came back in about 1970, maybe 71, and I was born in 72, so I always tell everyone that I was conceived at the comeback party to Portland, okay? And my mum coming from Portland and being of the big family, the Harding family, of course. All of the brothers, Uncle Bill and Uncle Wiki, some of the more famous ones up here, but my Uncle Pat, and all steeped in rugby and sports. And so coming from our Portland, they all played for, the Portland Parrots back in the days, playing league and rugby and tennis and all sorts. That village place was a real wicked place to grow up in. Yeah. So anyway, probably just before 1972, I was conceived, and I came out maybe about 4 or 5 months premature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was born exactly 1 pound.
Oh,
I was a one.
the same as a butter.
Yes, yeah, and apparently there's a picture of my dad holding me in one hand and holding a pound of butter in the other, and I was in the Northern Advocate. Yeah, in 1972, and so I always considered myself being a special baby, of course. Stayed in the hospital for maybe about 2 months, and then my nana came in and actually took me from the hospital and said to my mum that she'd look after me and until I came right.
Yeah.
And so my nana, Pirihira Harding at the time, or Pirihira Merino, she had married a man, Jim Merino, who ended up being my papa, really.
Right.
And of course, my nana Hilda, well, she was, man, just like all of our nanas, I think my Nana Hilda and Nana Helen and your Nana Smago, they all used to hang out together, tough old ladies that smoked cigarettes and played poker all the time, and definitely had sharp tongues and beautiful hands for making bread,
Yep.
Those sort of things. So my nan actually whangaid me from on what's that lick in Flour and Water.
Oh, Prawatahu.
Yeah, and so she actually whangaid me on that until I was big enough to actually eat kai, and we stayed right next door to each other, actually. My parents next door, but I stayed at my nan's place, and so I ended up living there from that day till about the time I turned about 16 and a half, really, that I lived with my nana. And so, of course, I was spoiled rottenly as the youngest of her whāngai children, and I had a few sisters. Yvonne Lusk, who comes from Pakihiwai, who's now passed, and another lady used to be the fish and chip lady down here at Night Owls. Her name was had purple hair. Her name was Hines, but her real name is Hine Amaru. Harding.
Ai.
Yeah. Yeah, Liao and all of these fellas. Well, that's their mother, that's the other sister, and Puinga Hei, of course.
Ai, kia ora.
Is another one of my sisters, and we had an older brother called Robbie Harding as well, but they were all the grandchildren of Hone Taiapa, you know, the fellow that carved the Waitangi whare.
Oh, yes, ai, kia ora.
Yes, so they married into our whānau, and subsequently, that's how my mum and dad got married as well, you know, was through whakapapa. And so they were actually tomo, and they were had to get married before she ended up giving birth to Aaron about a month and a half later. But they got married on just before Christmas Day, my mum and dad, 15 and 17 and a half or something like that. Anyway, during my bringing up, I was always accident-ridden, and I was a little bit ADHD, you know, and sort of sickly, weka sort of child growing up. So I was always under my nan's panicate, actually, lots of times, all my grandfathers. And
Ai rā, he paku whakatā i tēnei wā e mara. Ka hoki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whanganui a māua ko taku manuhiri ko Harry Boy Clarke. E kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga me ngā mahi ko oti iaia. A otira, hei whakangāhau ia tātou, hei tāpiri atu ki wēnei kōrero anei tāna rōpu kapahaka o te tīmatanga, mai ngā whakataitai a motu i te tau 2005 i tū ki te papa i oia, no reira e mara, a ta whakarongo mai. hoki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whangarei a Māro ko taku manuhiri ko te rangatira mo te rānei. Ara ko Harry Boy Clarke e kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga. Nā reira, e mara mau tonu mai.
So I had to go to lots of hui all the time, and the only time I was allowed to go with my dad was when we'd come back to Waikato, and that's where, his brother would actually take us away and didn't even realise, but they were showing us all these blinking, just how to kōrero softly, how to mihi, doing karakia all the time, learning all those things. And so it was just thrown in there, really. I think from the day I was born, Mum and Dad were saying that I was at an early age, and still in the cot, I was reciting karakia that my uncle used to come in and we can do and all sorts of stuff. And, so, at a young age, I was always speaking Māori and staying with my nan all the time. So not really playing sports a lot, but, staying inside the party. Really wasn't allowed to play bull rush or anything there, had to just stay there. Sometimes it got boring, but, you got spoiled, so it was all good, at stages. And, found how to learn and how to, get the most out of it. And so had access to so many different old kaumātua and puia that I didn't realise, that are all past now. And when I have a look on a lot of the on the pātu in the marae there, man, many of those people that I remember hanging around with my nene,
Kia ora, yep.
And then, and so, that was most of my life. I think, I suppose, had lots of accidents, and then next minute, getting into intermediate, just got straight into kapahaka from there.
Oh, okay.
Really?
So it wasn't really about the sports. It was like, all right, something nice and easy, boy.
Yeah, well, all of my family, like Aaron and them, they were all good sports players. And, so was I. I sort of excelled in sports too, but I was also excelled in kapahaka, just retaining stuff, and ended up running into Auntie Helen and Auntie Smago, actually, because they were all playing poker, those old ladies, they used to have these poker evenings. They probably still have those poker evenings, those fellas, those Henrys and all that,
Yep.
And so, and that's where we run into fellas, Willie and them, really. And at a young age, I had to, Dad and them would have parties, and so I was brought up playing the guitar. I used to, a common story was, Dad wouldn't ground me. I wasn't, I didn't really get growled, so I was allowed to stay up in the parties and walk around. And,
oh boy, play the guitar.
Well, my dad would be playing the guitar all the time, so I'd just go and sit on his knee because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere else. And watch them. And then, so after a while, at many parties, I'd lead the chords, and so he'd strum and I'd play chords, and this was going up through the years. And by the time I turned about like 7 or 8, I had probably my own little bracket in the party where I knew I could get up after the kids come through, get sports in there and shit. And so it just went on from there, right through to the legendary Bleak and Harry Boy. Everyone knows me for, which is, going for days without repeat songs and all sorts. And, in those parties, I come across so many different musos and styles and stuff like that. Singers learned how to sing in harmony real early, and they gave me things like ukulele to play with, mouth organs, because everyone had their own little thing. And so I got to learn those things because I was the only kid up in the party and someone had to entertain me. And then putting it all together and, coming through, being guided by William at a young age, going into kapahaka. Myself, Fred, and Mervyn, really, we were all the same age, and so we all got kicked in there. Actually, there was a whole lot of us, Ratahi, the Martin boys, we were all about the same age, and so we went in there, and Fred, Willie and my Uncle Wiki decided to create a performing arts rōpū, which was first come out of Whangarei Boys High, really, because we were all, coming through different intermediates. I was at Rauminga Intermediate, and so I ended up leading to school there under a Pākehā fellow from Portland, actually, Colin Watkins.
Oh, it's
he ended up being the over at Whangarei Primary School for years, and then down in Western Heights in Rotorua. But he was my first kapahaka student, teacher and Mrs. Pickering, and so we learnt, different things back in those days, and just slowly came through all of the competitions, the grueling way, sleeping in blanket, cold on chairs and all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
Yep. And then Woody's unique styles, which was, because he was very, and he had a big voice anyway.
Yeah.
Back then, those fellas were giants, we used to watch them bounce on the ends of pubs and didn't realise that those fellas were actually the ones who were going to make us do all this kapahaka. And so there was no nose, and, if we didn't want to do it, then Fred would get hiding or something, And so saving Fred getting a kick up in the ass, we'd come in there, but no, and so he taught us so much around just competitive kapahaka and how to perform, and hours and hours of just grueling practice, set us up. We ended up going through the whole Taiaha school down in Rotorua, which was pretty amazing.
Makoia Island.
Yep, under Mitamohi.
Mitamohi,
at a young age.
Right.
So we all got to have a go at winning Taiaha at certain stages, and then as a ropu, as a Ngāpuhi ropu, we ended up bringing the Te Arawa group back up here, up into Whakapau Mahara Marae in Whananaki to do the very first Taiaha wānanga up there. And and some of the students here were like Taipari, Howard Reti,
O te kāinga.
Yeah, or te kāinga for the north, really. John and them, how's that, John and them leading Taiaha. It was awesome.
Aira, he paku whakatā I tēnei wā e mara. Ka hoki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whanganui a Māua ko taku manuhiri ko Harry Boy Clarke. E kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga me ngā mahi ko oti iaia. A otira, hei whakangāhau ia tātou, hei tāpiri atu ki wēnei kōrero anei tāna rōpu kapahaka o te tīmatanga. Mai ngā whakataitai a motu I te tau 2005 I tū ki te papa I oia, no reira e mara, a ta whakarongo mai. Puki hoki mai ki ngā kōrero ki Whangarei a Māro ko taku manuhiri ko te rangatira mo te rānei. Ara ko Harry Boy Clarke e kōrero ana e pāna ki tōna oranga. Nā reira, e mara mau tonu mai.
And we were only young kids, like between 13 and 14, coming up to Tutorum, actually. At that stage. And then, of course, the taiahara and the performing arts got us into more performing arts things, and that's we ended up auditioning or going overseas with me Ryan back in the days for Whangarei to our sister cities in Japan, and so the travelling and using kapahaka as a
vessel
as a
to
job
do that.
was as a resource was amazing, and I always said to myself and to everyone that I was just gonna let Māori and tikanga Māori and kapahaka lead my way, really, and it has all my life, really, from early age to go overseas and be a part of ambassadorship and hooking up with te wako hia at a young age, probably 17 back in those days, but sort of lifted all of our performing arts skills up. It was just like a whole. Man,
with Pounamu too, eh?
Yep. So we were the very first round, and they called us Ngā Taonga Pounamu, coming straight off the major group that had been going all around the world.
Yep.
Around about the 80s. But we were the first lot, and they went around the whole of New Zealand just getting the cream of the crop to audition, and then made a trade training course out of it, really. It was Steps Max, I think it was called, and Vicky Kirihoma was our tutor.
All right.
With Vicky, Boy, Ngāpo, they were all in, and so and we just went to bracket and didn't realise what was happening, but they really introduced us to a higher performing arts, Ngāti Pro styles, and in the city as well, like urban-based kapahaka.
Aye. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so and had a stronghold fort in the Auckland Museum, really, and so for maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, I got to work at the Auckland Museum on and off over those times, really. I remembered that we had to do, one of the requirements was doing whittle. So we'd do like 3 whittle a day, and, normally we'd have to play rock, scissors, paper to see who lost.
Who's going to do it? Yeah.
Yeah, to do the 3 whittle, because it was like 7 days a week, we were working 6 days on, 3 days off continuously. So at the end of it, over 15 years, I think we can clocked up something like, I clocked up over like 9,000 whittle.
Wow, yeah.
And but then the older fellas, we and them, and Malcolm and them, they were up in the 10,000 sort of thing, it was just like a true profession, and thought I was carrying a lot of weight, but I wasn't, because you just so used to the training, and we got trained by this old fella, Te Hikurangi Chiakiawa.
All right, kia ora.
And he was just amazing, scary but amazing, and so we'd have all these amazing wānangas, and quite a lot of the skills that you see on those programs that Wetini does, with all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it was pretty wicked to have my bros learning alongside each other, because we looked after each other.
All right.
And just built these amazing friendships with all these other people that are now were amazing at their time for kapahaka, and now all just like sunken back into the cheap seats again, and it's but those days was going around the world, and being a cultural ambassador was some of the highlights of my life, I suppose, and the skills kept me going for like right up to, I think, even like 8 years ago, I think I went out of blue. Someone rings up and says, "Do you want to come to China?" Just because I had these skills,
Oh, yes. I think I remember that one.
Yeah, and so it was definitely a whole lifetime stuff, and then didn't actually realise that was just the first part of my life, really, and in and out as well, coming back and needing to acknowledge Woody on his last days. So he pulled me back in to help Te Timatanga over a few years. And I got to lead Te Timatanga for a few years and tutor them, take them to a couple of nationals, write songs for them and stuff like that, alongside Daniel Maxwell and Auntie Pat. Woody, just a lot of those sessions, writing those things are all coming back now that I can hand it on to, especially like my two bros and, the way that they're doing kapahaka with young people.
Yeah.
Those things are amazing, and even for ourselves too, because going out to Te Tarai o Rahi, which was one of our original groups, I still remember heaps of those songs as well. But of course, Auntie Pat, she's a jewel. So,
a jukebox.
That's right. And so, those performing arts schools got us into through the Henares as well, getting on stage and singing in the mics. And then, on the side, I got another position in a acting troupe called The Aunties.
Oh, okay.
Really? Yeah. And so I was the lead actor, and so we went around for about 5 years doing these Māori pantomimes, like every Māori region possible. Over 5 years, we're doing about 600 shows, just three of us, and it was rock and roll pantomimes and stuff like that. Maui in the Sun, and so we went up and down the country, and then got into other things like we sort of like the Wiggles.
Yeah. Koe rā ko te whakaaturanga He Puke He Rangatira mō tēnei wiki. Hoki mai a te rātu wiki, ko te wahanga tuarua o wēnei kōrero ki Whangarei Māua ko te manuhiri mō te rānei ko Harry Clarke. E whakaoti ai ngā kōrero mō tēnei wāhanga ki Whangarei Māua. Nā reira, hono mai a te rātu rātapu. Engari, ngā manaakitanga o te rungarawa ki runga i a koe me tō whānau. Mai a mātou ngā kaimahi konei o Ngāti Hine FM, Mauri ora.